Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we've got a whole new batch of leaks, some insane stuff. Looks like somebody over on Whatnot managed to get a hands on their own Modern Horizons 3 box, and they've just been opening it throughout the day. It is insane. There are so many different cards that we're going to talk about here. Just a little bit of a warning, I have been up quite early today thanks to the kids and stuff like that, so if I muddle my words a bit more than usual, I apologize. And before we get into it, I would like to ask you guys to subscribe. You know, a huge amount of people who watch the videos don't actually subscribe. Even if, 1% of the people that watch this subscribe, we could potentially hit our goal of 3,000 subscribers by the end of the month. That's, 7 days that we've got to do it. So first one here, we've got Sneaky Snacker. So this is a Fairy Rogue, Dimir, flying. When you draw your third card in a turn, return this from the graveyard to the battlefield tap. So it looks like the Dimir is basically going to be around when you draw your third card. So all of their, like a whole bunch of their cards are to do with, whenever you do draw your third card each turn, you get to a whole bunch of procs. We've got Sarpadian Simulcarium here. So this is a goblin with haste, and then you can pay 4 to sack it to deal 4 damage to a target creature. Depth Defiler here, devoid, and then it's got kicker and colorless. And when you cast it, you can choose one. If it was kicked, you get to choose both. You can return something to its owner's hand, or target player draws 2 cards and then discards a card. Interesting. We've got Foul Strike, and this looks straight out of like an Unfinity set or something. This is, I don't like this one. Destroy target with flying, and then you can reinforce 2. If you pay 2 and a green, discard it to put 2 +1/+1 counters. One of the things that they did was they basically brought back nearly every old mechanic, or at least a lot of them back. There's been so many, old mechanics coming back, like grandeur and stuff like that. It's really interesting. We've got Territory Color here. So this is devoid, and it's reach, 4 and a green. Landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature, you can reveal it, put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. So it's essentially kind of like, what is it? Like Explore, except for creatures, the creatures you put into your hand rather than like a land into your hand. Expel the Unworthy, kicker, 2 and a white, and it costs 1 and a white. You can choose target creature with mana value 3 or less. If this spell was kicked, you can instead just choose target creature, exile it, then its controller gains a life equal to its mana value. It's like a worse Swords to Plowshares, right? Yeah, that's just a worse Swords to Plowshares, right? I'm not being crazy. We've got Malevolent Rumble here. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a permanent card from among them into your hand. I think we've talked about this one before. Put the rest into your graveyard and then create... Oh no, we haven't talked about this one. And then just create 1 Eldrazi spawn. Inspired Inventor. When it enters the battlefield, so it's 2 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. You get 3 energy. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Or create a 1/1 servo artifact creature token. Idol of the False Gods here. So this is a Kindred artifact. So Kindred's the new word for tribal and stuff. 1 and a colorless to tap it to create a spawn. Whenever another Eldrazi you control dies, put a +1/+1 onto this. And as long as it has 8 or more +1/+1s onto it, it is a creature in addition to its other types, and it has Annihilator too. So it's very interesting. It's a way to, be able to create spawns, and then as you kind of slowly sack your spawns and scions and stuff like that, you can put the +1/+1s onto it and then turn it into a creature of its own right. Deceptive Landscape, so we'll see a fair few of these. This is a new cycle here of landscapes that all have, you can sack it and then search your library for one of 3 different types of cards. So this one is a basic plains, swamp, and forest. Utter Insignificance, flash, enchant creature. It loses all its abilities and becomes base power and toughness 1/1. And then you can pay 2 and a colorless to exile that creature. Quest for the Necropolis. So Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a quest counter on it. Then you can pay 5 and a black, sack it, put a target creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It costs 1 less for each quest counter on it, and you can only activate it as a sorcery. Unfortunately, can't see what the cost of this one is up here. I'm going to guess that it's pretty cheap, like maybe just black or 1 and a black or something like that. But it's something to kind of, go into your landfall decks and kind of slowly build up to be able to res something. Indebted Spirit, not Inbred Spirit. Anyway, it's got Bestow, and then it's got Afterlife 1. And if you bestow on something, it gives that +1/+1 in Afterlife. Horrific Assault, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If you control an Eldrazi, you get to also gain 3 life. Rosecott Knight here, Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment from them, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. And if you didn't put a card into your hand, put a +1/+1 onto it. So that's not too bad. I wish it wasn't just when it enters the battlefield, like if it was when it enters the battlefield or attacks. But it is just a common, we've got Reiterating Bolt here. You can replicate it by paying 3 3 energy, and then it deals 3 damage to a target creature or planeswalker. So like a lightning bolt that you can additionally put onto other stuff by replicating it. Thriving Skyclaw. I think we've seen this one before as well. When it enters the battlefield, get 3 energy. When it attacks, you pay 3 energy, and if you do, put a +1/+1 onto it. We've got Electrozoa here. So flash flying, when it enters the battlefield, get 2 energy. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, tap Electrozoa unless you pay energy. So that's a very interesting one because, you're going to have to tap it potentially if you don't want to pay that energy. I don't know. I don't really like this one either, but also it's only a common. Phyrexian Ironworks. We've got 2 in a red. Whenever you attack, you get... It's just whenever you attack, get an energy, and then you can pay 3 energy to create a 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature. And it does look like Urabrask has survived, or this is prior to him falling, I guess. We'll see. We've got Deem Inferior. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each card you've drawn this turn. You can send a target non-land permanent into their library, second from the top or from the bottom. Colossal Dreadmask. So this is just Colossal Dreadmaw as a mask, but it's also got Living Weapon, which is really cool. It's got +6/+6 and trample to the equipped creature. We've got Smelted Charge Bug here. Menace. When it enters battlefield, get 2 energy. When it attacks, you can pay an energy. And if you do, another attacking creature gets +1 and gains Menace. Solstice Zealot. When it enters battlefield, get 2 energy, and then you can pay an energy to tap target creature. Wing it, +2/+2 until end of turn to a creature, and then put a flying counter on it. There's actually a couple in here that are like different counters. So this one does flying counters. There's another one that does a death touch counter. You also get to scry 1. Riddlegate Gargoyle. When it enters, get 3 energy. When you attack, you can pay 2 energy, and when you do, target creature you control gains lifelink until end of turn. Twisted Riddle Keeper, so an Eldrazi Sphinx, which is interesting. And it's also got a merge here. 5 colorless and a blue. You can cast it with the merge cost. When you cast it, tap up to 2 target permanents. Put a stun counter on each of them. So you get stun counters with that. Hope Ender Kotal here. Devoid Flash. When you cast this, counter target spell an opponent controls unless they pay 1. Planet Genesis. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from them onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put a card from them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This one I can definitely see getting some use in like a Landfall deck or something like that. That's going to be very interesting to see how that kind of goes. We've got Bespoke Battle Wagon here. You can tap it, get 2 energy. Pay 2 energy to tap a target creature. Pay 3 energy to draw a card. Or you can pay 4 energy to turn it into an artifact creature, which means you don't need to crew it. However, it is a vehicle, so you can just crew it with other stuff if you like. Tranquil Landscape, as we've talked about the landscapes before, this one here is the Forest, Plains, and Island one. Invert Polarity, which looks like a really fun spell. You choose target spell, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you get to gain control of it, and then you can choose new targets. If you lose it, you get to just counter it. A very interesting counter, especially because it's kind of tied to flipping and stuff. Cyclops Superconductor here. It's got prowess, and then when it enters battlefield, get 3 energy. When it dies, you can pay 3 energy, and then when you do, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So with prowess, that could get pretty big. Or, if you've just got like chucking +1/+1 up onto it and stuff. We've got Molten Gatekeeper here. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So it's kind of like Impact Tremors on a creature, right? That's an Impact Tremors on a creature. And also got Unearthed Red here too. Obstinate Gargoyle, it has flying as long as it's modified, as well as the fact that it's got persist. So, you know, it can potentially, after it dies, come back modified with flying too. Refurbished Familiar, so this has affinity for artifacts, flying, and then when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you get to draw a card. This one here is Void Pouncer. It's got Devoid, I think that's 1 and a red, Devoid, Kicker, 2 and a colorless. If it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1s on it, and a trample counter on it, and with haste. So this is a 1/1, I think. I think it's just a 1/1 base, and then it can go up to a 3/3. Or it's a 3/1. Hard to make out whatever this is. It might be a 3/1. We've got Dream Drinker Vampire, so this has lifelink, adapt 1, and then whenever 1 or more +1/+1s are put onto it, it gains menace until end of turn. We've got Faithful Watchdog here, just, you know, Silencia colors, Vigilance, it enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1s on it. Unfathomable Truce, 4 and a colorless, 4 and a blue. Devoid, draw 3 cards, and then put a 0/1 Eldrazi spawn onto the battlefield. Gift to the Viper, as I said before about the counters, so this one's a Death Touch one. Put a +1/+1 onto a creature, a reach counter, and a Death Touch counter. This is really good because there's some other cards that were like, give something +1/+1 reach and Death Touch until end of turn. This is essentially that, but better, right? And you get to untap it too. Muster the Departed. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. At the beginning of your turn, if a creature, not even a non-token creature, died, this turn populates. So there is a lot of really great, you know, white reanimated decks that you could use this in. Twisted Landscape, Swamp Mountain Forest, one of that cycle. Retrofitted Transmigrant. Return it, so for 3 and a black, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield with 2 +1/+1s on it, and it comes in tapped. Drownyard Lurker. So this is 7 vigilance. When you, it's also a Trilobite, that's really cool. When you cast or cycle it, create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn. It's also got cycling, 2 and a blue there. We got Hydroelectric Specimen. So on the other side of this is going to be the Bolt Land. So when it enters the battlefield, you may change the target of target instant or sorcery with a single target to this, so you can steal other people's buffs. The Creation of Avacyn. So it looks like there's also going to be a cycle of different sagas for each of the different planeswalkers. So this is obviously the one for Sorin. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. Turn the exile card face up. If it's a creature, you lose life equal to its mana value, and then you can put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put it onto the battlefield, you can put it into your hand. So it's an interesting tutor. I don't know. It's a tutor with 3 parts in it. Like a saga kind of deck could make some use for it, but most of the time I think that there's going to be better tutors than this for it. We got Hex Gold Slith here. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. When it attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, it gains first strike until end of turn. When it deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 onto it. Siege Smash Split Second. Choose one, destroy target artifact, or give something +3/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. That's a very good like a braid changer, like a braid style card. Annoyed Altasaur, so this one is a reprint, Reach, Trample, Cascade. Foreboding Landscape, I'm not even going to cover those landscapes anymore, really. Eldrazi Repurposer, when you cast it and when it dies, create a colorless Eldrazi spawn. Angel of Ruins, another reprint. Proud Pack Rhino, when it enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on target permanent. So I think there must be a counter for nearly everyone. Like, you know, we've seen the Reach, we've seen the... I believe it's in the Death Touch one. This is the Shield one. You know, I think there's going to be nearly every type of counter here. Or you can proliferate too, which is nice. We've got Cursed Wombat, which I absolutely love. So it's got adapt to, and then permanents you control have whenever one or more +1/+1s are put onto this, put an additional +1/+1 onto it. This can only trigger once per turn. If you don't know, I'm Australian, so a wombat's always going to... I'm going to love wombats. We've got Breathe Your Last here. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. You gain 1 life for each of its colors. Infernal Captor. It's got exploit, and then when it exploits a creature, gain control of target artifact or permanent or creature until end of turn. Untap that permanent, it gains haste, so you can steal something with it. Warped Tusker has reach, and then when you cast or cycle it, create a Eldrazi spawn. So this is the other one, similar to the other one that we saw before. Eldrazi Line Breaker here, so 1 colorless and a red. Devoid Trample at the beginning of your combat on your turn. Target creature you control gains haste and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of Eldrazi you control. So if you've got a whole bunch of Scions or spawns sitting there, you can buff something up a whole bunch. Sheltering Landscape, Airy Auxiliary here. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to support 2. We've got Inventor's Axe. So this has flash, and then when it enters the battlefield, get 2 energy. And then when it also enters the battlefield, you get to attach it to something. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and you can also equip it for 2 energy. We've got Ethereum Terrormander. Are they bringing up like nearly every type of creature type as well? So this has flying, and it can only block creatures with flying. And then it's also got 6 and a black, adapt 4. It costs 1 less to activate for each artifact you control. So you can get that down to just being 1 black if you've got a whole bunch of artifacts. A Lion Umbra. You can enchant modified creature with this. So it has to be on a modified creature, it looks like. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has vigilance and reach, and it's also an Umbra armor, so that's the renamed totem armor. Lethal Throwdown here, as an additional cost to it, sacrifice a creature or sacrifice a modified creature. You get to destroy target creature or planeswalkers. If you sacrifice a modified creature, though, you get to draw a card. Meteoric Mace, so this is the first time this has been reprinted in something that is not either Commander Masters or Commander Legends. So this will be the first time it goes into Modern. It gives something +4/+0, and it also has Cascade, which is nice. Saga of Unknowable. Sorry, Sage of Unknowable. Tap, add colorless, spend it only to cast a colorless spell or to activate an ability. It is only a 0/4 though. So I assume this is going to be pretty cheap, right? I think that's a color symbol there. So I think it's going to be like 1 and a blue. We've got Pinnacle Monk. So this is the other side of the red bolt land. Prowess. And then when it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Fetid Gargantua. So this is 2 and a black to adapt 2. When 1 or more +1/+1s are put onto it, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, you lose 2 life. Fangs of Colonia, put a +1/+1 onto something, then double the number of +1/+1s on each creature that had a +1/+1 on it this way. You can also overload it for 4 and 2 greens. Monstrous Vortex, when you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X. Nightshade Dryad, Death Touch, add a colorless, add 1 mana of any color. We've got Envoy of Ancestors, Outlast white, and then modified creatures you control have lifelink. Charitable Levy, non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast, and then whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, put a collection counter on it, and then when it gets up to 3, you get to sack it, draw a card, final planes card. It is just a planes card as well, not a basic planes, and then put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. Ugin's Binding here, Devoid, return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Whenever you cast a color spell with mana value 7 or greater, you may exile it from your graveyard. When you do, return each non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. So an interesting kind of cyclonic rift there. And then there are these ones here. So Shrieking Drake, when it enters battlefield, return something back to someone's hand. Solar Transformer, when it enters battlefield, gain 3 energy. You can tap to add colorless or to add mana of any color if you pay an energy. And then 2 black here for Consuming Corruption, deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. And then there is a confirmed reprint for Urza's Incubator and Branching Evolution as well. So there was a lot of cards there. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye. And don't forget to subscribe as well.